Hey, what is going on, guys? This is DK back at you with another video here to break down the Thursday night showdown slate between Tampa Bay and Carolina. Real quick before I get into it, if you guys haven't watched my early look at Week 2, my breakdown is already up on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be having another video up talking about value plays that I like. I'll have another video up talking about game stacks, team stacks, and then I will have a my Week 2 later, later on, closer to lock video up. So videos basically every day here on this channel. So if you guys haven't, if you're new to the channel, I would really appreciate if you would subscribe and like this video if you enjoy the content. And yeah, that's basically it. So let's get into it. Tampa Bay, Carolina, over under right now at about 52. So it's a really high over under. Should be a back and forth game. Carolina is favored by 5.5, 6 right now is the spread. Before I guess I talk about all these players, one tool I really like using for showdown slates, at least to start my research, is snap counts. Snap counts are huge. So let's go to Tampa Bay first. So if you guys just Google NFL snap counts, there's multiple sites that will give you this information. I kind of do like this Football Guys because it gives you the percentage of snaps. So if we just look at Tampa Bay, obviously, Jameis played 100% of the snaps. The running backs was kind of a three-headed monster. Peyton Barber, Ronald Jones, and Dare Ogunbowale. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but yeah, pretty much an even split between the three. Now Dare did get a lot of the garbage time. He got a lot of his catches on that last drive, but it still is worth noting that he got a good chunk. Now Godwin 91%, Mike Evans 86%. That's pretty expected. Brashard Perriman was in the number 3, so 64% seems about right. The tight ends, O.J. Howard 80%, kind of what we're expecting, and then Cameron Brate kind of playing the backup, but still getting a decent amount of work there at 44%. So those are the guys that you got to consider for the slate. I don't think we can go below that. And then let's go to Carolina too, real quick. So Carolina, obviously Cam, played all the snaps. McCaffrey 100% of the snaps. Did not come out of the game. I honestly don't know how you fade Christian McCaffrey on this showdown slate, but yeah, I'll get into that in a sec. The other running backs, Amara is a fullback, and then Scarlett was in there for 5 plays. They used 2 running backs. Obviously, he's not viable. DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, the top two guys, playing at 94, 93%, and then Jarius Wright is the number 3. He's worth consideration here at playing 60% of the snaps. Chris Hogan can't do it there at 7%. Greg Olsen was at 94%. A little surprising for old man Greg Olsen getting 94%. He does have a back injury too, so that's one thing we got to keep an eye on. If that actually turns out to be serious, then we would have a really good value play here in Ian Thomas. But yeah, so we're going to have to, we'll get that news probably closer to lock. And that's basically it. So yeah. At least for these showdown slates, just in general for Week 1 too, I tweeted some significant Week 1 snap counts that I found interesting. So if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, it's in the description below. It's just DK __ DFS. That's on my Twitter. But yeah, enough of the snap counts. So let's look at the prices here, and so starting at the top. McCaffrey at 12.4. I know he's expensive, but man, I honestly don't know how you fade this guy for the showdown slate here. He's going to play 100% of the snaps. He's a great PPR back. They just want to feed him the ball. So yeah, I just really don't see how you fade him for this Thursday night showdown slate. And then the quarterbacks. So for high over under games, I like trying to get both quarterbacks in my lineup. But there's really not a whole lot of really good value plays. So I don't think, pairing, so if you say you go McCaffrey, Cam, and Jameis in there, you're left with 5.4K remaining. That's going to be tricky to get a lineup that you feel pretty comfortable with. So, Cam or Jameis, really don't have an issue with either. Jameis obviously had an off day in Week 1. But I don't mind going back to the well there. I think he's going to be the lower owned of the two. But Tampa Bay, again, they're 6-point dogs. They should be playing from behind. Cam kind of had off Week 1 as well because it was just the Christian McCaffrey show. But I do expect, he does have a little bit of rushing upside, so I do like that. So both quarterbacks, I think are fine. Again, I think Cam will be a little more popular, but Jameis definitely still has upside as well. The Tampa Bay receivers, obviously it's Mike Evans and Chris Godwin at the top. Mike Evans had a disappointing week 1. I think that lowers the ownership on him a bit, but he still does have a good amount of upside. I like buying low, so I think he's a solid play. Godwin was more popular in week 1. A little disappointing. A lot of the Tampa Bay offense was definitely disappointing in a juicy matchup against San Francisco. But I think Godwin is perfectly fine here at 8.6. And then the top 2 for Carolina is DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. Again, these guys played about 95% of the snaps, so they're going to be out there on almost every play. Moore, had a pretty solid week 1. What did he have? 10 targets, 7 catches, 76 yards. So he had, definitely a better game than Curtis Samuel, who was a little more chalky on week 1. I did like him at that price. 4 targets, 3 catches for 32 yards. Again, I think DJ Moore will be a bit more popular because he had the better week 1, but Samuel definitely still viable here at a $1,000 discount. And then we get to the tight end. So O.J. Howard's here at 6.6. I think this price is pretty fair. I do like him a good amount. Again, he kind of had an off week 1 as well. He did have that one fumble too, but he's going to be out there for 80% of the snaps. I really like that. And Tampa Bay, their rushing offense, not the best. So they're going to rely a lot on Jameis and throwing the ball. So O.J. Howard at 6.6K, I think that's a mid-tier guy that I'm definitely keeping an eye on. I do like him a decent amount here. Greg Olsen, and he was out there on almost every play, targeted 9 times too. 4 for 36 was serviceable for sure. We got to keep an eye on this back injury. If it's something serious, then again we look to Ian Thomas. But if it's not a big deal, then Greg Olsen, another mid-tier. Both those tight ends in the mid-tier range I think are pretty solid plays. If I had to pick between the two, I would definitely lean towards O.J. Howard. But Greg Olsen, again, got targeted a good amount, so I do like him still. And then we get to the cheaper guys. So the Tampa Bay running backs, again, it was kind of a 3-headed monster. Peyton Barber, 8 attempts for 33 yards, had a couple catches too. And then Ronald Jones did look like the better of the two between them, running 13 times for 75 yards and adding a catch for 18 yards. I think either are fine. I think Ronald Jones is definitely going to be more popular because, again, he had the better week 1 and he just looked better and he's cheaper. So if you're a guy making a lot of lineups and you want to take the ownership into consideration, I think Peyton Barber goes a lot lower owned. Either of these guys are fine. Again, in a 3-headed monster, not a lot of appeal, but there's really not a whole lot of value plays. So, that's kind of my thoughts on those 2 running backs. So now we get to the number 3 receivers on each team, Perriman and Jarius Wright. Both these guys played in about 60% of the snaps, so definitely viable for salary relief on a slate that kind of does lack some value. So Perriman got targeted 5 times, 2 catches for 10 yards. Nothing special, but again, we got to fit guys like McCaffrey. We got to fit those top-end guys in our lineup. We got to take some risks here somewhere. So I think Perriman or Jarius Wright, again, both are out there for about 60% of the snaps. I think are both viable as a value play. Then we get to the Panthers defense. So if I was going to pick a defense here, it definitely would be the Panthers because Jameis Winston obviously shows in his history that he's very turnover prone. So again, if I was going to take a shot on the defense, it would be Carolina, but it's a little tricky because this is a high over-under. So I do expect Tampa Bay to score a good amount of points. But you can definitely get a Jameis Winston pick 6, and then the Panthers defense crushes it no matter what. So I think the Panthers defense would be the one defense I would consider. I don't think I would go with Tampa Bay's defense. Cameron Brate, so he was out there for about 40% of the snaps. Obviously, it's OJ number 1, but Cameron Brate, he had 2 touchdowns, I believe, called back. Him and George Kittle both had 2 touchdowns called back in that game. That was just a really, really ugly game. I had that game as a game stack for a GPP lineup, and that just really did not work out for me. But Cam Brate here at 4K. Again, 40-50% of the snaps. I think that's doable here as a value play. Ian Thomas would only consider him if Greg Olsen misses. With Greg Olsen healthy, he only played 5 snaps, so would completely cross him off if Greg Olsen's healthy. If Greg Olsen misses, then Ian Thomas becomes a pretty solid value play there at 3.8K. The Bucs D, again, if I was playing a defense, it would be the Panthers. I don't think I'd take a shot in the Bucs defense. Kickers, don't forget about the kickers. Plugging one of these guys can get you, open up a lot for you. So really don't have an issue with either of these guys. And it's going to be high over under, so there should be a lot of points scored. So yeah, I think both kickers are viable. I don't think I would play both in one lineup. I think one, though, getting one in there opens up a lot for you. So I definitely do like that idea. Dare here. So 2.4K again. He played. It was kind of a three-headed monster, but he got a lot of his work in that last drive, which worries me a bit. Maybe if the game's closer, he won't get as much work. But 2.4K, that's really cheap. He's a good PPR back, so a value guy that's definitely really risky, but does have some upside here. And then below that, there's really nothing I can go for. Hogan played in less than 10% of the snaps. Yeah, that's really, Scarlett was out there for, 5% of the snaps. That's really it. If you're really want to risk it, TJ Logan is the punt returner for Tampa Bay. He's pretty fast. He only put in one offensive snap, but maybe he breaks one and gets his 6 fantasy points. But I don't even think we have to go there if you're making 150 lineups. I really don't even think that's worth it. As far as captain goes, for who I want in my captain, it's either going to be Christian McCaffrey for me, plugging him in there, or going for a guy really cheap. So if we go with Christian McCaffrey and then go with one of the 2 quarterbacks, so we go Jameis, 5,200 remaining. That's a little tricky. We can still get probably one of these top receivers, and then we got to go cheap elsewhere. So say, let's just say we plug in a mid-tier receiver like DJ Moore. Then we're at 4,300 remaining. So we really got to go cheap. Maybe like Peyton Barber, a kicker, and then Dare, something like that. So it is tricky for sure. Or you could go something like going a cheap guy in the captain spot, which would open up a little bit more salary relief. So say, say Greg Olsen misses, we go Ian Thomas in the captain spot. Then that leaves us 8,800 remaining. Then you can almost get McCaffrey and both quarterbacks. 5.2K, I think that's viable. So again, it's really about, for me, at least on this slate, it's either McCaffrey that I'm plugging in my captain spot, or it's a really cheap value guy that I'm risking it on. So yeah, I think that's about it, guys. Again, if you're new to the channel, if you've been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate if you would like this video and subscribe if you haven't. It really helps me out growing as a channel. We're getting close to 600 subscribers, so I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Again, I will have my Twitter in the description below. It's important to follow me. I will give my thoughts as we get more news. The only real injury news we're waiting on is Greg Olsen, but that is some pretty big news. And yeah, I'll be back for another video. I'll have a video up breaking down some value plays I like next on my channel, so I will see you guys then.